All right. Now we could get started. Sorry about that. Okay, so welcome everybody to our class, Strengthening Our Morning Routine. Okay. Again, we are taping this on Zoom. If anybody wants the PowerPoint slides, please let me know. And yeah, I think that's basically it. So what are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about how strengthening your morning routine starts with bedtime. We are talking about how to be positive in the morning. I know that can be really tricky for people. I happen to be a morning person, so it's not so bad. Hello, welcome. The morning is not as hard for me to be positive. The nighttime is always a little bit more of an issue. And I said last night as well that I would say to my kids, like after 9 o'clock at night, hello, hi Darcy, how are you? Hello. So I would say to my kids after 9 o'clock at night, I am not a good mommy, right? And it's true after 9 o'clock at night. I think that's really stretching it a little bit. I think it was really even after 8. But okay, whatever, it's all good. But anyway, so we're talking about being positive in the morning. And it's just very simple. And I talk about this a lot. Hello. I talk about this a lot. Like it's just switching around a couple of words in the sentence, right? It's just like putting a smile on your face instead of a scowl. So, but again, we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about how to empathize with your kids in the morning so that you have more of a team sort of feeling instead of this feeling of me against you. And then we're going to talk about using solution-oriented language, which again, I always talk about, and how we could use that really to teach kids to take responsibility for themselves, for their own schedule. And for finally, like we want them to be able to get themselves up in the morning and get themselves out the door. That's really our goal as parents. So we're going to talk about all of that tonight. And I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry for the late start and all the like technical difficulties at the beginning. Okay, the people on Zoom, you did not see that. I don't think you saw that. And all right, so let's get started. So we all know that school mornings or just mornings in general could be, but really school mornings are one of the most stressful times of the day for both parents and kids. Would you guys agree? Would you guys agree on that on out there in Instagram land? Okay. I think no one's responding, but whatever. I'll respond for you. Yes, 100%. Okay. All right. So the first thing we need to know is, okay, Darcy said definitely. Thank you, Darcy. So your morning starts with bedtime. Okay, it starts the night before. You really want to make sure to stick to your bedtime routine. You really want to make sure that your kids are getting the sleep that you need. If you want well-behaved children, like I believe that 60%, 70% is getting them to sleep on time. So sleep is so important. Your kids are less likely to be whiny and cranky. I mean, that's really like, common sense, but it helps brain development. Children who have good night's sleep scored better on cognitive tests in reading, math, and spatial relations. It reduces the risk of obesity. Kids are just calmer and happier. It's easier to run a household when both adults and kids are getting the rest that they need. So again, it's really important. Now, you want to get your kids on board with this. Like you want them to understand that bedtime is important to you. And I was thinking, and I said this yesterday as well, that I think I'm going to save this information for next week, and we're going to talk about the importance of bedtime and how to manage that bedtime routine. Okay. But you want to be serious about bedtime for you and your kids. Okay. You want to make sure that you're also sticking to a bedtime. Because you're obviously, you'll be better behaved when you have enough sleep. I misbehave when I don't have enough sleep. When I'm hungry and I'm tired, like really, you just don't want to be around me. You just don't want to be around me. Okay, fine. So that's the first thing that we need to remember is your morning starts with bedtime. And I think we're going to go into that hopefully more next week. If not next week, then the following week. Although we are trying to put together a parenting retreat or a boot camp, we have not squared away the dates yet, but hopefully you will have that information soon. Okay. All right. So the next thing, okay, so we spoke about how important bedtime is for strengthening your morning routine. And then the next thing we want to talk about is that you want to be positive, okay? So instead of saying things like, it's time to get up, you better not be late again, what is taking you so long, which is what we want to say, is you want to say things like, good morning, kiddo, it's 7:05, it's sunny, can't wait to see you at breakfast. Your favorite pants are clean, I'm ready for you to wear, right? Just anything positive that you could say. You're still setting, you're really saying you better not be late again and what's taking you so long, but you're saying it in a way where they can sort of hear you, like, can't wait to see you at breakfast, which is a nice way of saying, you better make it to breakfast. Or, your favorite pants are clean. Like the underlying message there is you need to get dressed and you need to get dressed in a timely fashion, but you're saying it in a much positive, more upbeat way. Okay. I remember this really transformed my mornings. I would go, my kids were like, they were very slow moving. We're all very slow moving. You think of like sloths coming down the tree. Not that bad. Okay, but close, possibly close. So, my kids would like slowly wake up in the morning and like, one foot would be out of bed, right? So instead of going in and being like, you're not out of bed right now, you're not out of bed, how can you not be out of bed yet? And I'd be like, oh, I see one foot out of bed. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's get a couple more feet. My kids only had 2 feet, thank goodness. But let's get the other foot out. Let's get some arms out from underneath the covers. We could do it, right? You want to be like a coach, one of those like annoying, coach cheerful people, right? You could go back into your bedroom and go like this, right? You could do that. You're allowed. You're totally allowed to do that. But when you're with your kids, you just want to be more positive and no more negativity. Okay. But it transforms your whole morning. And the more positive you are, the more you practice being positive, the easier it gets. I promise. Like people think, oh, you're such a positive person, but like I really had to train myself. And the studies, the science out there really substantiates this. So you create new neural pathways in your brain, a positive, I'm sorry, hello, welcome. So yeah, so it'll be easier for you to think more positively because the more you think more positively, the more you act in more positive ways. Hello, welcome. Then again, those pathways in your brain will, why am I not able to say this? I think it's because it's 9:00 at night. It will become more natural to you. Thank you. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. So again, we want to be positive. So number one, we spoke about how strengthening your morning routine. It starts at bedtime. And then we spoke about how we could be more positive in the morning. Okay. The third thing that we want to talk about is that we want to empathize with our kids. We want to validate their struggle about getting out of bed in the morning. We want to make it so, and when we do this, when we validate, then we become more of a team. It's not me against you. We're working together. Like, I got this. Like, the mornings are hard. The mornings are tricky. But, we're on the same team and we're going to figure this out together, which brings us to the next point, which is more solution-oriented language. But before we get to the solution-oriented language, let's talk about just again, this validation, right? So instead of saying, just get out of bed already, what's taking you so long? You want to say something like, looks like you're having one of those mornings. It could be a real challenge to get out of bed. Let me know if you need my help. Is there anything I could do to help you? Right? Again, more of that team feeling. It's so important. And we all know that it's really hard to get out of bed in the morning. And now the weather is turning colder. You have to get out of those like warm covers. It's so hard for me. And then yesterday I spoke about this also. There's a book, I forgot the name and I should have looked it up, but on children with high functioning autism, or it used to be called Asperger's. So, but high functioning autism. And they spoke about there are just some children, but I think it's also for typically developing children who have a very hard time from moving from sleep to the state of arousal, like just wakefulness. And it takes that transition. We know that children with high functioning autism have difficulties with transitioning from activity. So that's just one other transition that might be difficult for them. And if you think about it, like that's a transition that's very hard for me to do, to move from sleep to wakefulness. And so there are just some kids who have that issue as well. And they spoke about the fact that there are some people who just an alarm is too jarring for them. And it's so funny, like I can't set an alarm in the morning. It drives me crazy to be woken up by like a loud beeping. So in the book also, it spoke about testing out different ways in which your child, the best way for them to wake up in the morning. It might not be an alarm. And also, I watched this class because I'm having trouble sleeping, which for my age, for women my age, that seems to be a common issue. So I watched this class on sleep, and I don't remember the guy's names, but he was a world expert on sleep. But he spoke about how sunlight is so important. And obviously, like I live in Cleveland, so the mornings are very dark here in the morning, and it's very difficult. But he did speak about like having the shade open a little bit so that you can start seeing the sky starting to sort of lighten up. And that helps you move from sleep to wakefulness. And so those are just some things that you could think about that can possibly help your child move from sleep to wakefulness. And again, the point here that I'm making is that transition is hard. Getting out of bed is hard in the morning. It's hard for adults. It's hard for kids. And if we just validate that, just things will be more positive. And just it helps your relationship with your child. Okay. Is this resonating with anybody? Does anybody have any questions about this? Anybody have like a special way that they wake up in the morning, or if they found to wake up in the morning that's been helpful? Okay, if anybody has a comment that they'd like to say, I'd love to hear from you out there. Okay, out there in Instagram land. Okay, all right, moving right along, fine. So we spoke about how to strengthen our morning routine. It starts at bedtime, the night before. And then we spoke about being positive. And then we spoke about just validating. We just spoke about validating our children's feeling that it's really tough to get out of bed in the morning. Okay. We also want to make sure to use solution-oriented language, okay? So I always talk about this. Our goal as parents is to help our children become competent and confident adults. Part of that is being able to manage their own schedule, manage on their own. So we want to help them or guide them to figure out how to manage their mornings by themselves. Okay, so that you don't always have to be there. You don't have to be their alarm clock, right? That might be one of the ways that would be helpful to them. But in the end, you want them to manage their mornings themselves. Okay, so we could say things like, what will help you get out of bed? Like also, so either, I guess these are some of these examples are things that you could say in the morning, but you also could brainstorm with them like at dinner time. You want to say things like, wait, am I getting my head of, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so just these are things that like you could say to your child while they're still in bed, like what will help you get out of bed? Do you want the light on? Will that help you wake up? Do you want me to just leave your door open so you could hear a little bit of noise? Do you think that could help? Would you like the window open? Maybe some fresh air could help you, or sometimes a shower does a trick. What do you think? Okay, so those are some things. You don't want to bombard them with all these questions in the morning, especially when they're asleep. But again, it's softer, it's kinder. You're offering your help, right? Again, more of this team feeling along with this problem solving. Okay. Right, we finally, so we want to really teach them to own their own schedule. So when we had a rough morning, I would, at dinner time, I would say, okay, guys, like this morning was like a disaster. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because we don't want to say, we don't want to be dramatic, right? But this morning was tough. We had a hard time getting out. We ended up being late, and I was yelling, right? You want to be more descriptive, like what actually happened. And right, and I would say, okay, what are some ideas where it will help us get out in the morning, right? Like how do you think we could improve on our morning routine? It happens to be that I was sometimes really the problem. You know, I was always like cleaning before I left. Like I always want my kitchen like clean before I walk out the door, even though like I was a stay-at-home mom and I was coming back, right? But I just wanted it clean. So that was a little bit of a problem. That was me. But again, so we would sort of have like a brainstorming session at dinner time. And you're not going to come up with the exact solution. It's really a process, right? It's not like, okay, well, we had the brainstorming session and the next day we had, we also got out late, right? Then you sit down again, you go back to the drawing board and you figure out, okay, we did this right this morning, but something went wrong. Like what went wrong and how could we make this better? That's how you want to approach it. As a process, it could take you a month till you figure out. And then you could have a new baby and everything goes out the window, because that's what happens when you're a young family. Just things happen, right? Somebody gets sick, right? Just things happen. You move, right? The COVID happens, whatever. Right? Maybe you switch schools and there's different times for starting times, right? So you're always going to have to reevaluate your schedule, and that's fine. Okay. But also we want to teach children to own their own schedule, and some language or scripts that we could use are things like what do you think would be a good time for you to wake up in the morning, right? How much time do you think you need in order to get out of bed, get dressed, eat breakfast, and walk to the bus? This is very important, like teaching them to think about their time. Once you figure it out, you can work out a good schedule for yourself, or we could do it together. Let me know. So, and also if the schedule that you've both decided on is not working, you can always say, I know you've been having trouble getting out of bed in the morning. What do you think you need to do in order to make it easier for you? Okay. So again, this is a solution-oriented type language, but again, moving them to own their own schedule, figure out their own schedule. And that's very important. Okay. So that is basically it tonight. So we spoke about how to strengthen your morning routine. It really starts with bedtime. We spoke about being positive. We spoke about empathizing and validating how hard it is to get out of bed in the morning, and really that team kind of feeling. We spoke about using solution-oriented language. And finally, we talked It's about teaching children to own their own schedule. So again, if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. If you're watching this on Zoom as a recording, then please email me. Again, I just want to remind you about my book, Parenting Simply, Preparing Kids for Life, and also check out my new updated website. And also you can sign up for my email course, 7 Ways to Help Your Kids Listen in 7 days. I would so appreciate if you do sign up for the course, that if you can leave a testimonial, right? Just a review of it, or send that to me. That would be, I would so appreciate that. And also soon I'm going to have dates for my Parenting Simply retreat. So that information is coming soon. So I'm really excited about that. Okay. Have a great night, everyone.